Hi everyone, I am going to walk through the completion of an SIR or General Event Report as it's called in Therap. Again, I'm in the California demo account, so everything you're going to see here is fictitious. We're going to go to our individual tab and General Event Reports. I have already started one and have saved that process. My supervisor is unable to see it yet because I have not yet submitted it, but I thought it would save us a little bit of time by getting some of the basics filled in for you. So I'm going to go ahead and click search. This is a nice way to do quality assurance if I'm trying to find if any reports are floating out there that I have not yet been submitted to me as the supervisor. I'm just going to go ahead and put my name in there and see what's there. I can click in all that information if I wanted to really narrow down my search. I'm going to keep it pretty broad just to see what's floating. I can always select to see what's in prep as well. As you can see from the list of reports that I have written, there is one here that says in prep. This means it has not yet been approved, it has not yet gone to Kern. Okay, so we want to make sure and get that one taken care of. You can click anywhere on that line to open it. You can see I've done an injury report here. Anywhere along this report, I can click on it, edit button to open it. I'm going to go ahead and open it from the very beginning so we can kind of glance at all the different pieces that are filled in here. As I scroll through the page, we can see that I have selected today's date for this injury. I'm the person completing the report and I'm the person's staff. I listed this as a medium notification. You do have the option with low, medium, or high here. Kern does provide guidance to you on what should be classified as a high, a medium, or a low. And we'll cover that here. Once I wrap this piece up, we're going to let Kern jump in and share some of that information with you. They also have the information that they share on our Kern page within our help and support. I've listed the program here. When I did choose program site, it does fill that address in for me. So as you build the information into your account, it will fill in places for you so staff aren't having to type quite as much information. And then I've listed what has happened before the event. So in this case, Marie was walking down the sidewalk to the van. I have selected no for abuse, neglect, or exploitation suspected. Should I have chosen yes on any of those, it will ask me what type of abuse I am suspecting. And when I do that, it does narrow down who can see this report to only those who have those permissions within their super roles. Administration would be able to see these, and then the Kern administration would be able to see them as well. But as far as the direct care staff, they would not be able to see each other's reports if they list anything suspected here. I'm going to go ahead and click next. So you can see I have the injury on here. So I could open up that injury to make sure all the information is filled in correctly. I can see that this was observed at 8 a.m. this morning. If I had heard a sound and gone to investigate what had happened and I discovered that person on the floor, I would then mark unknown and fill in the discovered date and time here. But because I saw it with my own two eyes, it was an observed event. I can list a specific location. I said this was outdoors, and then I can give the details of that injury. So my type in this case was an abrasion. I have a lot of options here to choose from. It was caused by a fall, and then we did minor first aid. This does give us some definition. So we know if we've gone to that ER, we're going to need to list this as a severe. Therap will also trigger you to make sure that your notification level in that case is high, because now we've involved that ER, okay? Size and color do not have those red asterisks next to it, so they are not required. Not all injuries have those things. And notice that the size is in centimeters and millimeters. So we may not have staff that understand that language. They typically don't carry rulers in the back pocket to measure that. And we all tend to talk in common language. And we say the bruise was about the size of a golf ball, or the scratch was a couple of inches long versus centimeters and millimeters. For the body parts, what I did to get these 3 injuries was I clicked on the body diagram. And when I do that, I'm able to highlight the areas that had that injury, okay? If I needed to, I could narrow this even down to specific fingers. I could have up to 3 parts of the body injured per report. I can always add additional in another section if I needed to. So I have 3 listed right now. I'm not going to add any more. By clicking submit, that fills in these drop down boxes for me. So it does save me a little bit of time and makes it very clear exactly where the injury is. Treatment was provided by the staff in this case. We did not go to that ER. And then I have the time of treatment. I do not have to fill in the date of treatment if it occurs on the same day as the injury itself. If this had happened at 10 o'clock last night and we were in the ER until 3 o'clock in the morning, then I'm going to list that treatment date as today, not the date of the event that happened yesterday. Okay. You can upload photos of your injury if that is something that your agency and Kern is looking for. You can simply browse that from your computer. So you'll want to get it downloaded into your computer first and then browse for that. And then I have my required summary, and this is where I'm going to write all my details of that injury. My who, what, where, when, why, and how. This is also where I would list any witnesses, if I have any witnesses to this event. I can also list that size and color if that's something that just doesn't fit in the description up above. So you can see I've got a pretty brief description there. I could put up to 4,000 characters if I need to be really, really detailed and share a lot of information. Okay, when I click next, you'll see I have the injury there. I do have the option to add another event, and I do want to show you a couple of the options that are listed here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that so you can see what that looks like. So again, I have injury, so if I needed to add more parts of the body that were injured, I could. I have medication errors here. I have restraints, and may you never have to select death, but we do know, unfortunately, that does occasionally happen. I have this other box, so I'm going to select other and show you what some of the options are in there. So now for my event type, I need to define my other. What does that other mean? You can see we have a lot of options here. So I have behavioral issues. If that is, we've had some behaviors because this person was injured, they were upset, and now they've hit the staff, in response to that. I have change of condition. I do have communicable disease on here. So if you are needing to report anything COVID related, this is a great opportunity to be able to do that. It makes it very clear and easy for your case management and others to see this report. So I can select whether a person has had contact, whether they're displaying any symptoms, whether they've been tested, and if they have been, if we have those results, okay? And then I could add any additional comments. So I'm just going to check a couple of these. Other options that you do have on here, I should show you. Unfortunately, in California, Colorado's had a few fires. You guys have had some very extreme fire issues going on around you. We do have evacuation and we do have displacement due to natural disasters. So do keep that in mind, that is there and available for you should you need to report that someone has been displaced for those things. Okay, I'm just going to keep this on communicable disease so we can move through, and then I would write my notes about this here. I now have my event type, so if we were tested, when did that occur? I'm just going to pick a time that's earlier than right now so we don't have an error when we get to the bottom. I observed because I took them to that appointment and got them that test. Specific location is not required to fill in. I could select other. Do note that if I select other, it is going to make me define what that other is to the right. So you do have the option to define what other is. And I'm just going to say the testing facility. And then I can write my summary of what we did. That one does have a red asterisk, so I'll want to make sure and include that information. Once I click next, oh, I forgot, what did I miss? Never fails. When you get an error, it will be in red font. I have 1034. Oh, I'm in a California account. I apologize. I'm in Colorado. It's 1034 here. It's only 934 in California. There we go. So if I test this at 9 a.m. this morning, then I'm going to be within the proper time frame. Okay. Now I can see both of those events have been included in one report. So I'm getting all that information that's needed over to Kern in a quick and easy manner. I'll go ahead and click next. Section 3, the state-specific form, is not required for current providers, so you guys always get to click next on this one. There's no state form to attach. Step 4 is going to allow me to document corrective actions. Kern would like you to fill this information in, so they want to know what you did for this immediate incident. What did we do right away to help this person with this occurrence? Okay, so we helped her out, we got her calmed down, we did the first aid. Plan for future corrective actions. What are we going to do to hopefully prevent this from happening in the future? So she was walking down that uneven sidewalk. Maybe she was tripping over her shoelaces. Maybe we need to look at either helping her learn how to tie her shoes and keep them tied, or even possibly buying some Velcro shoes. If it's an uneven sidewalk, maybe we need to go ahead and report that to the city so that hopefully we can get that sidewalk repaired. Okay, so I'm just going to put report sidewalk issue to the city, just so we have something in there for Kern. Okay, we want to make sure that it's something that we can do. We don't want to put information in there that we're not going to be able to follow up on. So if I had wrote down fix the sidewalk, that might not be my agency's responsibility, but at least I can say I've reported this to the city. Hopefully they're going to address it. We can be able to keep track of that and add follow-up to this report if need be. Next, we're going to have our notifications. This is a very, very important part of your report, okay? Therap is not going to pick up the phone and call anybody for you. You're simply listing all the people that you have notified about this incident, okay? So if I've notified my supervisor and I click notified, it's then going to be allowing me to fill in the name of my supervisor, when I notified my supervisor, and how I notified them, okay? I can continue to add as many of these as I need to. So if I've also called that Kern case manager, I'll just select case manager. Again, if I've said notified, I can now put the name of them, when they were notified. And we're going to do this one at 8:30 just to make sure that we're covered in that time frame. And how did I notify them? So did I actually speak to them on the phone, or did I just leave a voicemail? Did I fax or email them some information about this? Did I happen to see them in person and inform them directly? Okay, so I have several options there. And again, if I need to, I can always add more notifications over here on the right-hand side. You can attach external attachments to this. That sounds a little crazy. So I have up to 10 megabytes. I can attach a lot of information here. If I have that ER paperwork and it's already in my computer, I can simply click add file. I'm going to browse from my computer to find that. And I don't have actual ER paperwork, but if I go through my desktop here, I can see that I've got some medication orders. So we'll just attach a medication order to that. And then I can write my details of what it is that maybe that happens to be that ER paperwork. That way, this isn't going back and forth between myself as the agency and Kern as the case management agency looking for that other information. We've included everything on the very first upload of this document. Everything's going to be attached. They'll be able to look directly at that report as well. Okay. Hopefully that will decrease some of the back and forth that we tend to have. I now have the opportunity to preview my report to make sure everything is correct that needs to be in here. Everything is filled in. If your direct care staff have filled this in for you and there's a piece that they have missed and you need to return it to the submitter, you can always attach a T-note. Again, to help with that communication. By doing that, I can say specifically what they need to do. So maybe we're missing the notification of family. Okay, I'm not seeing that on here. I want to make sure that it's included. If they're the ones who contacted them, maybe they didn't contact, and I need to confirm that so that I can make that phone call. You can even pick the color of my Post-it note depending on my mood. I'll go ahead and click add, and that note is now going to appear right at the very top of this form. That way, when I return it to that direct care staff for them to complete that information, they know exactly what I'm looking for. Once this report has been approved, and you as admin approve this report, this will automatically delete. Just like if you had that piece of paper incident report and you pull off that post-it before you send it to case management. So just to make you aware that those will be deleted when this is approved. Okay. As an administrator, you may see that you now have the ability to create a new GER resolution. This is going to be your follow-up and investigations. As you can see, everything I've included in this report is now showing here. There's that injury. I'm getting that body diagram now attached. There's that COVID information that I shared on the testing. Did not include a state form because it's not required. There's the corrective actions and notifications and my external attachments. As an administrator, I do have the ability to add more notifications to the bottom of the report. And I can also say that I have reviewed this report and add any additional comments for myself as the administrator if another staff had written this note. Okay. Once I've completed all of that, at the bottom, you're going to see several buttons available to you. Your direct care staff will likely only have save and submit. Save means that they are not yet finished with this report. They want it to come back and finish it later. They've got to take care of the individual. They need to save what they've done so far. At that point, this report has not gone to Kern. It is not viewable by other people, just the admins if they did that search like I just did at the beginning. Okay, and I would see that it's still in prep. Excuse me. Submit means that this report is complete if I'm the direct care staff and I'm ready to send it to my administration to be able to review and approve. Okay, so submit is kind of a midline process for your agency. Still not completely approved and gone to Kern, but it has been submitted. Technically, Kern can look at this at this point in time, but they're going to hold off until you have approved it as the admin. Okay, so this is where your time frames with that 24, 48 hours comes into play. I want to make sure and get this approved and sent over to Kern within that time frame. Okay, so submit means that the staff are ready for your agency as the admin to look at. Approve means that your admin is saying, yep, this one's ready to go. Kern can now see this and complete any work that they need to do on it. Okay. I also have the ability to delete this if this is a totally inappropriate SIR. I can do that as well. I'm going to go ahead and approve this. It's reminding me that that T note is going to disappear. And I now have options to make it printable. Okay, so if I need to also run this for licensing, we can do that. There's a couple things I want to point out before I turn it over here to the Kern staff about printing. One of the things that has happened with the changes to that individual demographic form is from your admin tab, if you've included that UCI number, if I go into provider preferences here at the very top of the page, I can decide what information I want on my PDFs. So as you can see, I can upload my own agency's logo directly onto that form. I can choose even what size I want that to be. But then if I scroll down this page, I'm going to come to a section that says PDF preference. And here's the information I can decide to be in the top of my printables about the individual. So I have that individual's name, included the date of birth in this case, but we've also included that individual ID number. And this is that UCI number that you've entered that into the individual demographic form on the individual details page. Okay. Last thing I do want to point out very quickly in reference to the incident reports is if I now come to my to-do tab, I can see if I have reports that I need to approve. I've got 3 of them floating in the system right now. I have both the ability to review and approve based on my super role, but I also now have follow-up. Okay, this is that report that I just completed is now available. It's going to remain on my to-do tab for up to 15 days. Any follow-up needs to be added. It's a quick and easy way to get to that. And I just wanted to check to see, do we have one of the Kern managers with us today if they would like to share any information from their perspective on incident reports?
I think Jeannie is with us.
Jeannie, are you there? She can't unmute. Let's find Jeannie on the list and make sure she's unmuted. She must just be in the audience, huh?
There she is.
Hi there. Yeah, now it says I'm unmuted.
There you go. We hear you.
Excuse me. Good morning, everyone. No, unless there were some specific questions, I haven't seen any questions coming through, but perhaps I can't see them. But
Yeah, not seeing. This is Jody. I'm not seeing any questions that have come in.
okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't see who's participating, so it's and I'm not seeing any questions. This looks different than the webinar from last week, so no, I would say it is important to make sure you hit that approve. That's commonly one of the issues with meeting that 48-hour timeline for getting your reports turned in time. We've had a few vendors ask, well, if they're in prep, can Kern see them? And the only time that I ever go in to take a look is if I know something has occurred and we've been waiting for a SIR to come through, or if we've received a call on that 24-hour SIR hotline. To meet your 24-hour call timeline, many vendors use that phone line and will leave a message. Some vendors prefer to call the service coordinator or send an email. But if I receive a call on that 24-hour hotline and then all of a sudden, 48 hours passes and I still don't see anything in writing being worked on in Therap, I then call and try to help vendors meet those timelines. I don't know that, and now the incident mapping is important because at one point we were talking about incident levels, high, medium, and low. It is important for my ability to track the hundreds of SIRs that are coming through if that incident mapping is followed. If the incidents that we've deemed high, if you would please mark them as high. And as I'm sifting through the SIRs on a daily basis, I will then look at those highs. But at this point, it's sort of all over the place. Vendors sometimes consider something to be high. We don't necessarily consider it to be high because it's not something we report to DDS. So those would probably be my two comments so far. There is a question here. Once the 15-day period is over, is it possible to retrieve the report? I'm not sure I understand what they mean by a 15-day period.
I think what that's referring to is I mentioned it was here and available on the to-do tab for follow-up for 15 days. You can always retrieve a report by doing a search. And you can go back beyond 13 months if you need to. So you're always able to pull up old reports simply by clicking the search and putting your information in here. So if I'm looking for a particular individual, I can list that Marie. If I want to keep my time frames, I can select time frames or keep that open. But then I can search to see all of the reports on that individual.
Over the last year, with all of us learning how to do this, that has been a very common question amongst vendors that they'll often say, well, we wrote the SIR, we approved it, we've even had follow-up comment back and forth with our service coordinator assigned to that individual, but then they go back in to look for the SIR to start to add new information and they can't find it. And it is that if you went back to that search page, Therap in all of the pre-filled or all of the blank spaces where you can enter information, I have to often remind people that there is that enter date from, and when you do a search, that is the one box that is pre-filled, and if you don't remove that date, you limit what your search is looking for. If you know the exact date of the SIR that you're looking for, the Ger, by all means use dates. But if you are trying to find something, you're not exactly sure when it was approved or when it occurred, if you're just looking for CSRS for one in particular person, or maybe you're looking for a variety of CSRS that have to do with falls or hospitalizations, you want to be mindful of that date, because oftentimes people will say, well, why did the CSRS disappear? And it's always, more than likely, it's always been that they've left that date there accidentally.
Mm-hmm. So if I change this back to January 1st, instead of going back that couple of weeks, it goes back 2 weeks automatically. And I do that same person search for her, I may see more reports based on what people have done. In this case, this is a person that I added, and I've done this for these tradings specifically. So she does not have any from January on. Her reports all occurred in October when I came in and did these for this training. Okay, Jeannie, anything else? Any other questions from anybody about SIRs?
Hey, this is Jody. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
A few other questions have come in, just about how far does it go back? And we're going to get into the reporting and kind of pulling data out towards the end of this training. So nothing goes away, you know. So there was a question, how far back can you go to look at GERs, SIRs, and you can't. You could go back as far as possible. And then another question that come in, and I'll let Jeannie probably take this. Is it important for all staff caregivers to know how to use Therap?
In some agencies or some vendors, they prefer that anybody who is would need to write a SIR have access and be a user. But that's up to the individual vendor. You know, in some agencies, every single person knows how to write a SIR, down to the cook or the janitors. In smaller agencies, you'd want someone who it's really on a need to be able to report. So there's no, I prefer that you have more than one super administrator oftentimes, or at least somebody that a staff member can contact if they have password issues. But it's up to you on how you want to develop staff that are able to enter CSRS.
And I think the only thing I would add to that, Jeannie, is, you know, I agree with the having somebody as a backup. If you're the only admin for your organization and the only person who has access to this, if you're gone, who's going to be able to report that in your behalf? So make sure you at least have a backup for the main person doing this. But again, direct care staff can certainly come in and fill this report in. You have the ability to review it and edit it. But you're getting that information not just by phone, but you're also then receiving it in writing from them.